bullet zooms through trees and brush at a whopping 1,800 miles per hour. Sunlight dances upon its metallic shell, singing a song of joyous release after its pent-up explosion from the long barrel of the gun of a master marksman, specializing in doing death stuff. But who is this sniper? Is he just a man with a long gun who is also very sneaky? A true sniper is much more than that, as can be seen from the main character of Sniper Elite 5's hair. If I had to guess, he trims that pelt at least once a week, buzzed on the sides but kept long so that he can grease it over that scalp. He's letting nobody get past that bullet-shaped head. If he runs out of ammo, he will use himself as the ammunition, and that's what being a real sniper is all about. Nobody else knows that, and that's why he works alone. Because there's thousands of Nazis in Sniper Elite 5, and only Fairburne's hair is hard enough. It's the middle of the summer, and he will wear a sweater in the French countryside, and that's got to be humid. His clothes are black, so you know that guy is getting sweaty. But that is what being a good sniper is really all about, probably. Sniper Elite 5 is, to some degree, a beauty to behold. Easily, it will be one of the prettier first-person shooters you'll play in 2022. The large levels give ample room to capture the iconic countrysides and chateaus of Europe, making the game a mini vacation in itself, and could easily be played just for the sightseeing. Too bad everybody is constantly trying to kill you. A little patience trudging through the hordes of Nazis infecting the bucolic levels will reward the player with some really nice looking locations to ignore because there are just too many people coming after you. I give the visuals of Sniper Elite 5 a 9 out of 10 because the level design is so iconic. Sniper Elite 5's storyline is serviceable. It's pretty bare bones really, but the player really doesn't need a lot of motivation as it's a fairly cookie cutter situation. Point, shoot, kill, World War II sniper gets sent into dangerous areas to covertly, or not so covertly, take this and that Nazi yada yada yada. That's not to say there is no character work. We get to see bits of Fairburne's sparkling personality and his interactions with the other soldiers, but Fairburne is a lone wolf at the end of the day. We see more of his personality when he's pulling off one of his Looney Tunes-esque stunts and sabotage missions. If the player is interested, there is reading material scattered about the levels giving insight into the significance of these missions. Most of the backstory revolves around the mysterious Project Kraken. At the end of the game, I decided to download one of the DLC levels, Wolf Mountain, where I was pleased to learn my new target was none other than the big man himself, Hitler. Exploring Hitler's villa and surrounding lands was a fun treat, and hey, how often do you actually get to kill Hitler in a game? I give the narrative of Sniper Elite 5 a 7 out of 10. At first glance, Sniper Elite 5 is a typical first-person shooter, with a few twists that really make this game a class in its own. Where the game really stands out is in the design of the levels. We're talking about creating challenges for snipers here, so a very linear hallway-type game would cut into the experience. Instead, each level is wide open and large, giving the player plenty of room to find hiding spots to try and pick off the Nazis standing in their way. The freedom given to the player to decide how to dissect the level is what makes this game shine, each level has way too many bad guys with multiple objectives and labyrinthine castles that you can get lost in and villages to explore. The levels are long. Typically each level would take me anywhere from 2 to 5 hours to complete. The difficulty of the levels is compounded by the sheer number of enemies to dispatch or avoid. Every bullet Fairburn fires alerts them to the player's presence, and even if facing only a few Nazis in a fort, once they are aware of the player's presence, they can be relentless, and they will call for reinforcements. I enjoyed the intricacy of each level, each new area requiring a new strategy to get around the baddies. As often as not, I'd alert them to my presence and spend the rest of the level playing groundhog with them, popping up in one area to shoot a few guys and then running like hell. That's not to say that the gameplay did not have any issues. Sometimes it felt like the enemies were too good at finding me, making hiding pointless in some places, as I would get swarmed by a horde of raging Nazis with an almost psychic knowledge of my location. There were some bugs as well which the player will have to deal with, the worst of which is the autosave system. Occasionally the game would autosave right before Fairburn was shot in the head or swarmed with enemy troops. As soon as I'd load, I'd immediately go down. This happened more than a few times and was incredibly frustrating, because I'd have to find a save point where I was safe, and sometimes that was more easily said than done. I also had an issue with the Jaeger invasions. The game has an invasion mechanic, which can be turned off, where an enemy player is allowed to enter the player's game and hunt them as they try to complete the level. This can be a fun challenge, spy vs spy kind of game. It makes getting through the level very difficult while there's a Jaeger on the loose. My complaint with this system arises from a rule about camping. Somehow, if the player's game is invaded by a Jaeger, and the player spends too long in one location, the player themselves can be booted from their own campaign. They'll be killed if they're staying in the same place for too long, even though they're the ones playing this experience. I find this mechanic ridiculous, especially in a game about snipers, whose main thing is, camping. Often the player can get trapped in a high spot as well, forcing them to stay in the same place as they are surrounded by NPCs desperately trying to shoot them down. Then all of a sudden the camping mechanic comes in and you die anyway. It's very annoying. Despite the game's high challenge level and long levels, I give the game a 10 out of 10 for gameplay, as it's really a unique first-person shooter experience. Sniper Elite 5 is a picturesque first-person shooter with long levels that will kick an unprepared player's ass. The open levels, invasion mechanics, and focus on sniping challenges gives the game a modern and unique feel, despite sticking mostly to the basics. I'd recommend the game to any FPS fans. Of course, the puzzle-like levels could attract fans of the action puzzle genre as well. Don't play the game if you don't want to shoot things, or if you don't like long, difficult levels, because these levels go on forever. My only word to the developers is, get rid of the Jaeger camping mechanic. It's just annoying and it feels like a slap in the face to the players. I give the game a 9.5 out of 10 and a pair of hiking boots, because this game can be a bit of a hike. But hey, how often do you get to kill Hitler?